Round 12 fire sale, the holds and the sells heading into this week. And a bit of discussion on a few guys. Now, a few of these players probably holds this week, but most likely sells in the following couple of weeks. Now, a few of these guys, round 15, round 18, they're Gornskis anyway, so we'll have a new crop come into the fray next week once round 12 is done. But Payne Haas is the biggest one here, definitely. 969k. You can get so much from selling Payne Haas, and that's why people are looking to move. Number two, the injury that he is carrying. So at minimum, he's missing 12, 15, and 18, and he also misses round 20 as well, which is an interesting one that I personally haven't even looked at yet until I just saw it on my screen. But backing up in round 13, that's going to be the big question mark. And how many mids do you actually have? Will you have enough to cover enough great players? Are you looking to buy Kalyn Ponga next week? I think there's merit in selling this week. There's merit in holding this week. There's merit in waiting until next week and then using that cash in your head to decide. Now, are you going to, save 300k going Haas to Kalyn Ponga, which then gives you that 300 to add Campbell or Teddy or Egan or wherever you want to go next week? That's kind of the big question mark on Payne. We know him and Terrell May, the two best scorers in the game. The big win is that Terrell can be your captain. So with Haas at the moment, I think either way is fine. I think I'm personally looking at potentially holding this week and then deciding, if he backs up or if he doesn't play crazy minutes in Origin and he backs up and he seems like he's all sweet, if he's carrying a bit of that niggle, then I do think selling could be the correct play and probably buying following their buy in round 20. So round 21, you would buy him because then you get, the 7 final games. They're not in a great position on the ladder. So he would play each of those games and we would be a great upgrade target come that week. And now you would have to have, a couple 100k spare or be able to build up, that cash reserves to be able to get back to him. So yeah, the way I'm talking right now, it probably seems like, especially if he doesn't play next week, probably more of a 60% like sell could work out slightly better than the hold side at like a 40% for me there. So that's Payne Haas. Lockie Hubner, 425k for him. We've spoken about him for a few weeks now as a sell. I think you can continue down that route. Are you actually going to play him in 15 and 18? You're definitely not going to play him 13, 16. So do you just move on? Yes. If you have other injuries, sweet. But I think, even if you're comparing, we'll talk about Naufahu Whyte out for the next 3 weeks there, would have had a buy anyway. He's probably more helpful to your side than Hubner, but he's also a higher price than Hubner to sell this week. So, yeah, that's that one. Savala didn't score great last week. I'm actually not expecting him to go great again this week against the Sharks. The way that Sandon Smith controls that game, we saw Sandon miss a week with, he was out very quickly for a head knock. And, in that same game, the Sandon went nuts. He got 57. And then the next week he had the head knock game, which helped Savala get to 50. Now, if that didn't happen, maybe he gets 30 odd. And that Dragons game was just really good for both halves. I'm expecting somewhere in the 30s this week, back to kind of round 6 and 7 numbers, just tackles, just in, tiny bit of running and the kicking. Kind of like we saw last week, just with a few more tackles and a few less misses. Now, 30 odd, is that enough for you if you have the necessary funds to be able to upgrade? If you want to loop him, I think all of those are good decisions because Savala likely to be out of the side come round 15. Sammy Walker should be very close and Savala will be the guy to move on from this side. Iongi at 440k, priced at 33 now. I think he's an easy hold this week up against Manly. Should be an okay clash. I'm a little bit worried about the Eels without Lomax and without Moses there. But it does mean that, if the ball isn't going to go right as much to Lomax, it may go to Iongi a little bit more, like you saw in other weeks there. In round 10, he was able to do well. In round 5, he was able to do well without Moses. Round 7 was pretty solid, but he did score 2 tries and had a 32 in round 9. So that was against the Sharks. Could he do it against Manly? I think so. I think I may just have to hold and find out personally, but if you are able to upgrade, I think that's a really solid decision. Naufahu Whyte at 593k, the price is it's high enough to be able to get a good buy out of him. I could move him on and get Teddy or anything like that myself, or we can go up to an AFB if you need to, to change mids. We have Dylan Egan, who's a clear sell there. So, lock and load him first as a sell because he's out for the year with the ACL, poor fella. Naufahu Whyte is due back in round 15. And now performance concerns a little bit with MCL stuff, and then does have the buy in round 17, but you are and would be holding for the round 15 and the round 18 games. So either way is fine. If you have other fires to put out, I'd suggest do that. If it's between him and paying Haas this week, definitely go for Whyte instead of Haas, because we know that even if he wasn't, isn't to be 100% next week, Haas, he would do a job. He doesn't need the massive minutes. And then round 14, he'll be fit and raring to go and probably could get you an 80 or 90. So if you were to sell him, you miss out on that opportunity. And Whyte, he's just been up and down, hasn't he? Jacob Kiraz, unfortunately, 4 to 6 weeks out for him. It's going to be a tough hold if you decide to do that. And I see a few people are looking at it that way. I don't think you can at 720 for that long. If he was like 400 or 500 and you got him really cheap and he was on the way up, sweet. But you're buying him, or you have him in your team at peak price or close to it, and it's out. He's out for too many weeks, so move him on. Cleary, I just think, is in a too tough of a position to sell in half, is what I mean. If you've got Toia, you've got Nico Hines, you've got Savala sitting there, King Tonga. Two of those guys out next week. Two of those guys you shouldn't be excited to have on your side. So I'm personally looking to improve in half over the next few weeks, whether that's, Jaden Campbell next week, moving Sharp up, one of those two, that kind of thing to help me out. And Fogarty's a really good purchase to pair with that. So with Cleary, we are hoping for the backup against Para. I think he will if he's all good for that one, but they won't back up traveling to New Zealand. So expect round 13 backup, and then 14 against the Tigers, but not 16. So he's an interesting thought come round 15, but it could just be a hold all season with his ability to go absolutely bonkers. And, an average of 63, but take out his low game and he's like near 67, 68. Stafford To'a. For me at the moment, he's in my side and he's leaning closer to a hold just because of how bad, our squads are for injuries at the moment. Now, eventually he's going to be a sell, misses 12 and 15. So this week and the second major bye. Round 13 and 14 is against Cowboys and Penrith, and we know he can do okay. The main question mark here is, do you just wait and move him on next week? That could be the play, and use the cash from other guys, or do you just bite the bullet this week if you can? I think that's fine as well. Now, Rob Toia still has a really low break even, and that would be the main reason for holding. The other reason would be if he only plays okay in Origin, he could lose his spot. If he does keep his spot though, he's a clear sell. But what you would hope for is that he is able to back up come this round 13 game, and they have the bye anyway before the next Origin. So that's where you could you can back up. Hopefully he's fine, he's young, and then get that rest the next week. So if you can hold just to get that one more price rise, and then I think probably move on if it looks like he's going to keep his spot in Origin. Jaxon Purdue at 532k. He is priced at 40, which is an impressive effort. I do think you give him another crack. In a situation where he plays the Tigers in round 13, I would want to see that in action because he has nice upside at center, and in the halves you can usually have better upside than that. Now you can see it in Tigers. If it's no good, then you can sell coming into the Melbourne game, but he does play 15 and he does play 18, and good chance of getting half dual, I'd say, if he's named in that Tigers one. I think leading into round 14 is the next dual position change. So if he could have center and half dual, that could be really important. So I would personally give the week, but I do understand the sell as well. Selwyn Cobbo, wrist injury, missing 12 and 15 anyway. He's probably just a sell. Yeah, it's probably where you're at with him. There's not much else to say. He's not scoring great anyway. He'll move back to the centers or the wing, where he has been this year. Wing, definitely. And just a pretty average one. Kalyn Ponga, look, he's fit. So, do you just hold at this point if you have other injuries? If you don't have injuries, I think you can move on. He's cheap. He does have the upside, that we know he can get to. He did run the footy a lot more last week, but still had 4 errors. Look, it's an errors every game. Hey, rough. So either way with him, I think it's 50-50. less issues I would hold, more issues you can move on, I'd say. But same the other way too. Less issues, you could be just like, oh, well, he's my problem child, I'll remove him. But he's too cheap as well. As there you go. A lot of people sold last week, as you can see here in the percentages. So just a quick one again. Look, if you hadn't sold yet and you have other fires, I think you can hold this week. But selling is still fine. And to finish this one off, Jacob Saifiti looks like he's out for anywhere up to a month. So similar to Bradman Best, look to move him on, unfortunately. There are other guys at his price point in the mids like Tavanga that you can get to basically the same price who should be able to do a similar job. But the frustrating thing here was that he started scoring well. Would he have made Origin is the question. I think personally the Max King should have got it before him. You can't just have a couple of good games and expect to make Origin, surely, rather than years and years like King has. So we'll leave that one there, guys. That's the holds and the sells for round 12. Pretty short and sharp. And I hope it was helpful for you in making your decisions. I'll be going through the VIP supporters. They're going to be going, they've sent me their teams. I'm going to go through a deeper dive on those guys and what I would potentially do and look to do over the next couple of months of the buy period. So a pretty exciting video to come out next, guys. And then you'll see my trades just before the game tomorrow, about lunchtime or just after. So look forward to that, guys, and we'll catch you in the next one.